Okay, thanks for checking in. And this is something. So this is an issue that I've talked about in the past, and it has been going on for a long time. But it was just so refreshing to see a YouTube personality, a YouTube creator of such stature, really openly talk about this and expose this problem, and that is the YouTube problem when it comes to reviews of gear. We flock to YouTube to find out about gear that we may potentially purchase. And often is the case that, we don't know if, the reviews are being bought, if they're being paid for, if, the reviewer is being honest, if they are being a shill for the company. And it was nice to see someone of his stature kind of expose this problem and talk about it openly. And that is none other than Gerald Undone. Now, for those that don't know Gerald, I find that kind of hard to believe that if you're on my channel but you haven't seen his. I'll just go over it real quick. Obviously, the video is in left or right here. I don't know. I'll put something up real quick. But I would definitely urge you to go over to his video and check that out in person. Don't take my word for it. He has a great way of explaining things better than I can do it. And plus, it's his video. But it was nice to see someone so far on the inside expose the industry for what it does. Now, it's funny that it seems like Lumix, I know the title of this video has Lumix in it. Now, I don't know anything about the new Lumix S9. I don't have any interest in the camera. It isn't a camera for me. It isn't a camera that I would use per se. It seems like a camera that has more questions than answers, but I didn't review the camera. So it's not about that. But it's interesting to hear that a camera like this seems to be the camera that has finally, exposed the issues on YouTube when it comes to YouTube reviewers. We're consistently seeing the same people. If you go onto YouTube, you will see over the years the same reviewers, time in and time out, giving you the same review. It's a regurgitated review, just with different names, different camera manufacturers, different specs and whatnot. It's always a game changer, right? And we're seeing that all the time. So that begs the question, who can be trusted, right? So this is what Gerald was essentially saying in his video. Now, again, I would urge you to, when you're finished watching this one, to definitely go over there and watch his video, because this is an insider. This guy has 500,000 followers, close to it. His reviews are unparalleled, okay? He takes every scientific thing that you can think of when talking about gear and exposes it and breaks it down to make it understandable for some. And they are very, very thorough. And he basically exposed the problem, saying that there are certain companies that are vindictive. Now, from my own personal experience, I have never gotten a pre-released camera. I have never gotten pre-released gear, so to speak. Very minor companies have reached out to me to do certain things. I do have a relationship with certain camera brands, nothing really in depth. I have never received a camera that was under embargo to review it or whatnot. But what we're seeing all the time is simply what Gerald was trying to expose, that these camera companies are looking for fluff pieces. They're really not looking for solid reviews. And then if you do criticize the camera, more often than not, you're not going to get sent gear in the future. And it's a sad thing because it kind of pressures the content creator to say nice things about a camera, regardless of if it's good or not. And I think this new Lumix S9 has kind of been that camera that now breaks it in half. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about the camera. I don't know the camera. I would not tell you something about gear that I have not personally put my hands on. And that's why when I do talk about cameras like Leicas or Sonys or even some of the Canons and Fujis that I've used, I talk to you about the camera from user experience. I don't get into the scientific nature of these things. That's for channels like Gerald, who are very well informed on it. I am not. I go with more of what a camera feels like. But what we're seeing from this S9, I think it's the S9, right? Lumix, is that we're seeing the same reviewers time in, time out, giving you some of the pros, some of the cons, but they're making the cons seem like it's not that big of a deal. And it's the same regurgitated information. And it begs the question of, should you spend your hard-earned money on a camera that may not be that good? It may have more questions than answers. But you're led to believe that because that YouTuber has to provide that content, provide that information about that gear, that camera that you may buy in a positive light. Or guess what? They're done. They're out. They're booted out of the system. They're not going to be able to review anymore. That means they lose their sponsorship. That means they lose their viewership. And it really could put a damper on their business or their, I guess, footprint in the industry. Now, for somebody like me, I don't have a huge subscriber count. I think I'm just over like 5,000. It's minuscule in the terms of the YouTube world. But I'm just trying to do my part and just kind of expose it just the same way that Gerald did. Obviously, he does it more in-depth and well-spoken than I did, but I'm trying to highlight his video and push it along. I'm trying to do my part, taking his video and just expose it and kind of keep it going, because I think it is a serious problem. I think that camera companies often look upon content creators such as me or someone who has 500,000 followers as expendable, because kind of we are. There's always going to be somebody that's willing to take the free trip. There's always going to be somebody that will be a mouthpiece for whatever a camera company wants you to say in order to be in the spotlight, to get the perks, to get some of the benefits. And there are camera companies that I know of that are very punitive when it comes to their content. And if they don't like what you say, they will cut you off. There are a lot of camera companies that are very cliquish, where if you don't know the person or you don't know some of the people that work with that brand, they won't open that door to you. There's been a lot of times where I felt like in this industry, I've talked to people who know me, who know my work, who have seen some of my videos within the camera industry, within the brand industry, and have never reached out, have never asked me to review a camera. Perhaps they are afraid that I may be critical of the camera. That could be an issue. I don't know. I'm not being like, woo-hoo is me and feel bad for me over here. But I always tried to be honest in everything that I've ever said about gear. I haven't sugarcoated it. And I think that this is great that you have somebody like Gerald talking about this in the industry. And it needs to be spoken about more and more. So do your part. If you've experienced this kind of stuff within the industry, talk about it. Be open about it. Because these camera companies need to understand that they need to be held responsible for the gear that they're pushing out. And it's very manipulative and misleading to tell somebody that this gear is perfect for you because you have a highly regarded YouTube personality pushing that narrative along, when that might not be the case. And now you as the consumer are out thousands of dollars in most cases because this gear is not cheap. And it's sad to see that that's where it is. But we've always kind of known it. We've always known that this was kind of the sleeping, giant that was never spoken about. It's constantly the same thing that, you're hustling to be the first one to come out with the video. So your camera video is seen first. Your gear video is shown more often than not. You were the first guy on the scene. So it rushes the content. It's also known that if you say something bad about the content, they're probably not going to get you any more content. They're not going to give you any more gear. And if you don't have any more gear, you're not going to be able to make any more videos. And Gerald, again, in his video, exposed a solid point that all of us have started out probably reviewing older gear. I have never reviewed gear, camera gear that was given to me other than through gear companies that I've eventually became ambassadors for, like a HOBOLITE. the gear was already out there. It's already been on the market. They sent me the gear to give an honest review, and I ended up loving the gear. And I use it to this day. Here's, the Mini. So I use their gear all the time, so I don't mind speaking about it. Leica has never given me a damn thing. I've never gotten a thing from this company, and I talk about them, and I use them every day. I use everything from their SL series to their M to their Qs, and I've even used some of the TL cameras. Never gotten anything from Leica, but I use that camera, and I like that camera, so I will feel comfortable enough to speak about it and give you user feedback on the camera. But it's sad to see that so many of the same people, day in and day out, we all know who they are. They're all at the conference. They're all on the trip. They're all yapping it up and laughing with their friends. And they're all just telling you what a great camera something is, or what a great piece of gear something is, and why you need it, and why you have to have the new piece of gear. And it probably sucks. It probably just outright sucks. So just be careful. Be careful when you spend your money. Be careful about trusting YouTube reviewers when it comes to camera gear. I think they are misleading. I think that this is it's a train, right? It's the steamrolling train that has to keep running in order for it to propel itself. The YouTuber needs the new gear in order to keep his channel alive, to create revenue for himself and to gain sponsorship. So what he will do is he will talk positive about X, Y, and Z camera so he can get more gear from X, Y, and Z cameras, or other X, Y, Z cameras will see him review that camera and say that they want to work with him too and give him more gear. It's a perpetual cycle of bullshit. That's all I have to say. Watch Gerald's video. He's more eloquent than I am when it comes to these things. And his stature is way greater when it comes to his channel in terms of delivering these things. And I applaud him. I really, really applaud him for being honest and exposing the problem that has been going on for a long time. So well done, Gerald. You always have a fan in me. Thanks, bud. See ya.